Hello and welcome to my Pegasus Knight basic guide. In this guide I'm going to be going over all of the basic things this class can do, as well as some more in detail things. Some of these intermediate classes are actually quite advanced and there's a lot to them. So to begin, we'll just kind of talk about Pegasus Knight. So it is kind of an air combo class, so what it wants to do is like launch itself up and then start getting off air combos, as you can see here. Alright, so it's like an air combo class that has high mobility. It's extremely mobile. It can get from one point to another really rapidly. It also has access to unique shortcuts, being one of the flying classes. And as you can see here, this is just me moving around. I'm not even doing anything. It's an insanely fast class. Its main weaknesses are axes, because of its weapon type, and of course archers. The archers will kill you fast, but given the way the class works, if you are playing as the Pegasus Knight, you usually can just ignore the fact that archers destroy you and kind of go to town on them as long as you know what you're doing. But aside from that, let's talk about the basic attacks. So let's just do the basic Y attack. You can see it's just kind of a right to left slash there. Then the second attack is a forward stab. The third attack is a downward slash. So this is just the basic Y chain, just spamming Y. So I'm gonna call out the attacks as they're happening. So Y, 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 Y. Just kind of make sure. There you go. So there's your chain, and this is with a mastered Pegasus Knight. So all right. So let's look at the X attacks. These are where things get really interesting. A lot of them launch you in the air, which opens up new combos that are specific to being in the air. So this, like the reason I mentioned it's an air combo class is because it basically puts itself high up in the air while you're moving really fast, which allows you to dodge a lot of enemy attacks, and you just basically hit enemies while flying away from them, which is pretty sick. Alright, so first attack, X. This launches you in the air, except when you get hit. So you can see there, this opens me up for air combos. Those are the air attacks. I'll go over all the air attacks. So that's basic X, launches you up. There's also YX, which launches you up. So fastest ways to get up, the fastest way to get up is just X, for sure. For the most part. Generally speaking, it's the fastest way to launch yourself. You can see there I'm able to just like dodge behind it using my speed. Like, so if an enemy attacks you, you can just dodge around them. It's pretty crazy. Alright, then also to launch yourself in the air, the longest chain to do that is Y, 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 X, which makes this awesome tornado attack, and then you get your air combos, and that launches you in the air as well. Okay, there is the class ability, the class action lawsuit, we'll call it. If you just hold an X, you need the class gauge at least partially filled. That's the gauge below where it says A for my crazy attack. I don't remember the name of it. I think it's like the awakening attack or something. But it's the third bar on your HUD. It's like that little yellow bar that's not flashing. So if I just hold X, I'll do this, and you can see it's draining the bar. And then if I release, it takes me up in the air for air combos. This can be done out of almost anything, and it can also keep a chain going, and it's actually quite crazy. So for example, if I do YYX, it's just like this forward stab, right? It doesn't launch me in the air. But if I do YYX, then hold X, sorry, I missed the timing on it. You have to hit it right as the attack ends. Like that. Then you can launch out of that. So to clarify, like this attack does this, then when you release, it launches you up. And it can be done out of the chains that do not launch. So YYX just stabs, it doesn't launch, but you can make it launch by doing YYX, then you hold X, then you release X, and then you get it, now you're in an air chain. Same thing is true for YYYX. This generally does not launch. It concludes with that like slam down attack or plunge attack, which is what they refer to in this game. You can also do the X class ability here. So YYYX. Then you can continue comboing. So pretty crazy. Honestly, this class is ridiculous. It's really fun. I think it's the most fun I've had in the game so far, because you're just so mobile. And you just, like, enemies just can't catch you for the most part unless they're also flyers. You can do stuff like this, where you're just kind of like moving around on the sides, dodging things. And then when you get a juggle going, it's really easy to get armor breaks because of the amount of combos you get off. But one main thing that you should be trying to do when attacking is like moving like this. You want to be like moving off to the side. So like my target is like kind of away from me. I want to be constantly moving away from it. So I'm like passively like avoiding its attacks. And you can always do things like where you like build up an attack, then hit him with an attack. But the mobility is insane and it lets you get away with a lot. These are low level enemies, so they're dying fast, but you kind of get the idea. Your general attack chain, you want to be hitting the target and moving away from it. So there's like, it's almost like, you can kind of see it there. Like I'm trying to get like this angle. I'm like almost there. It takes some getting used to. Yeah, like that. So that you're hitting the enemy while also avoiding getting hit yourself. It's extremely useful to do that because you're just, instead of, like, it prevents you from needing to stop chains. Okay. So that's the mobility aspect. Alright, so the air combos thing. So there are 6 different attacks you can do in the air. There's Y, YY, YYY, X, YX, YYX. Alright, so let's do... This thing's gonna die. Yeah. Alright, so here's... We'll just go through the attacks order. So here's... So X, Y, Y, Y... I'm sorry. There we go. There's Y, Y, Y. It's like very mobile. You can see that like some of the attacks that are high up can still hit low on the ground. So you can kind of get away with like this crazy mobility. Like that dude, that dude cannot hit me for shit. I'm just like way over. I'm like behind him diagonally, well her, behind her diagonally, hitting her in the air while she's attacking in the wrong direction. This class is so fast that once an enemy commits to an attack, you can usually dodge it just by your attack chain. It's pretty ridiculous. Alright, so that's... So let's go over the basic combos now. Alright, so you... X to get in the air, then if you do X again, it's just a slam down. So the basic air combo of... So I'm using X to get myself up, and then if you hit X again while in the air from any of the ways you launch yourself, you'll just do a slam down. For pretty good damage, actually. Alright, let's do YX. So that's YX, it kind of does like a horizontal slash and then pokes enemies out a little bit. So we'll do YYX, which kind of does this like downward stab. A lot of these air combos are really useful for like moving around your target and avoiding it passively. So that's like the main thing. Like you can fight your, you as the player can easily fight your weakness. Which usually isn't like good advice, but if you feel like it, you kind of get away with it. You can see here, like, the range on these attacks is insane. Look at that. It's ridiculous. So, like, you're able to stay away from the things you're hitting and defy the laws of physics while attacking them really high up. And it's just absolutely nuts. Okay, so let's talk about dismounting. It's like, alright, now I'm a land unit. Alright, so you can dismount by holding in left bumper. And you can kind of see there's like a horse. Sorry, I was hitting Y, hit B. Or I'm sorry, a horse. There's like a there's like a flying thing. Like a flying symbol. So you just hit left bumper and then you hit B. And you can do this pretty quickly. Alright, so let's actually try dismounting. So dismounting will take away the archery downside, but obviously you like lose a ton of mobility and your attacks are different. Alright, so let's go over these attacks. They're still pretty good. I don't really think it's worth it to dismount against archers unless there's like a ton of them. If there's like 1 or 2 of them, you should be able to dodge them while hitting them. Alright, so let's go over the basic attacks here. Alright, looks like just soldier attacks, to be honest. Yeah, it's soldier attacks. So you basically just become a soldier. Which isn't the worst thing. Like, if there's like a ton of archers, if there's like 3 or 4 enemy archers and you want to dismount so you don't get like archer weakness, you can do that. And then you just basically become a soldier. Which isn't the worst thing. But you should be able, even if there's a ton of archers, like if you use your mobility correctly, you probably will be able to dodge them while attacking them. Oops. There, speed up. And you also want to be dodging a lot, like using your actual A dodge. If you can get the crits, the time window for your invincibility is increased on this class. So if we actually go look at some of the abilities. So let's look at alert stance. So increases invincibility window when dodging. So when you dodge, you have an invincibility window. This increases it. This essentially is why you can usually just fight archers. Here's the A attack, I guess. I meant to dodge, but I guess we'll kill 2 guys. Alright, there you go. So you can see here the dodge. Generally what you can do is you can just bait out slow enemy attacks, dodge, and then just punish them. And you can kind of do this endlessly because you're so mobile. Like once they have a committed attack, you can just like kind of rush in. And get behind them pretty easily. And basically just go to town on them. Honestly, this class is really fun. I highly recommend playing it if you haven't played it. Okay, so let's talk about the X attack. So it depletes the class gauge, and then you can hold it as long as you have gauge, then when you release it, you launch. And as I showed earlier, you can combo, you get your air combo chain out of doing this, and you can do this out of any attack that, like especially ones that don't launch you. So for example, your X launches you up for air combos, your YX launches you up for air combos, your YYYY launches you up for air combos, but your YYX and your YYYX do not. So you can do YYYX. Then when you land on this one, you can hold this in, then I'll launch you. It'll get some damage. It'll get the launch off. And then you can also do it here as well. You can see the upside of doing this. Like being able to launch things and continue attack chains. It's pretty good. Sometimes I like to bait out enemies just to let them start attacking. Because if they just block, it can be annoying. Alright. So we went over the archer counters, air combos, dismounting and dismounting. Okay, alert stance makes you a dodge tank. So table turner is another ability most Pegasus Knights get. I think all of them do. It increases the duration of crits when you do a perfect dodge. So it actually makes your dodge is basically insane. It lasts longer for invincibility, and when you get it, like when you get a perfect dodge, you get longer crits. Combined with the crazy mobility and combo chains, you get off like really absurd damage numbers with this class. Okay, so let's go over some of the other things like weapon skills. Alright, so we have Earth. So any spear attacks can be used, obviously, because it's a spear class. So you can use Wheel Sweep, you can use Earth Splitter. So let's just throw like a Wheel Sweep out. This attack is actually really good for keeping a chain going, especially if an enemy gets knocked far, because the second attack there it kind of hits pretty far out. And then for Earth Splitter, it's kind of just like a good slam attack. Let's see what else we have. Let's go over some of the more nitty-gritty things. Alright, so you also have Night Kneeler, which is really good. It lets you just be a hard counter to horses. You can just stab them for insane damage. Pretty good. Earth Splitter. It's a good spam attack, I think. It's just good to use. It's just cheap. I like it because it's cheap. You just get a lot of uses out of it. Whereas with Night Kneeler, it's pretty expensive. Wheel Sweep I think is really good. I like the area effect. The damage is decent. Stormblade, I actually haven't used this. Let's try it. Let's try it out.
Take a breather.
Okay, that's pretty cool. So it's kind of like the like Annette's magic attack, where she makes like a tornado, or I guess like the mage magic attack, where it makes like that like green tornado, then just kind of launches. I could see this being really good. Okay. Some Pegasus Knights get Pegasus Knight's ploy, others don't. Essentially what it does, it makes all of your X attacks get charged with a random element, which is, well, not a random element, it's different per character, so in a way it's kind of random, but each character has their own specific element. So in this case, it looks like I'm getting like Darkness or Shadow. I don't know what this game refers to it as specifically, but you can kind of tell. Yeah, I really like that wheel. That's a wheel sweep. Yeah, it's really good damage. I mean, obviously this is a low-level enemy, but okay. So let's go over, let's just kind of wrap up with some class abilities. Alright, so there's Table Turner, that's like equipped. Equip all these. Alright, so Alert Stance, we already went over. They always get Sword Buster. Sword Buster just increases damage you deal to swords, so if you need to rapidly kill an enemy with swords, this is the thing. Okay, now let's go over the actual class abilities. So you can see we already went over these, and then you get the Stormblade. Now this is different per character. For most of them, certain ones are the same. Like most of them get like let's go over Mercedes, even though she probably shouldn't be this. She gets Stormblade. She also gets Pegasus Knight's Ploy, but she also gets Darting Blow. So there's a little bit of difference, just like with most classes. You can see here that Annette gets Pegasus Knight's Wisdom. I believe Ingrid also gets this. Increases Awakening Gauge fill rate when using class actions. So that's like your X attacks. Then she also gets Stormblade and Table Turner. Alright, let's go over Ingrid. She's actually... So she gets Wisdom instead of Pegasus Knight's Ploy. And then Table Turner and Stormblade. And then if we look at the attacks, they generally have the same attacks. She has Burning Quake, which seems really good. I haven't tested this out yet, but this seems really good. I'm going to do a different video for all the combat arts, because I feel like class, all classes, at least most classes, will share a lot of these. So I'm going to cover them specifically. I'm going to level them all up to max and then cover them in a separate video, but I'm just going to kind of reference them in this one and kind of touch base on some of the set abilities, like the class abilities. And the set abilities, I guess, which is I guess the set abilities is this, your build. They could just call it build. Alright, but I think that's more easier to communicate. You can see here that I have a counter, a hard counter to horses, and that's just because of the weapon she has equipped. So you can kind of add some extra oomph to a unit by giving it a specific weapon. In this case, I counter horses now passively, which is pretty crazy. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Oh yeah, another thing too. If you put this on your Pegasus Knight, Kingdom Magic Core, you get a damage reduction from bows, so pretty useful. Kind of just wrap up with that. But yeah, that's pretty much it for Pegasus Knight. Pretty mobile class, really fun to play. Air combos are fun. You can attack things while moving around crazily. And the other thing too is you can always be a distraction forever just by spamming dodge. So if you're getting focused and you have an all-out offensive going, you can just kind of fly around and fly in circles and dodge, and enemies will just keep chasing you while your team just goes to town. That's another thing you can do. That's more of if you're just trying to beat something and it's really hard. and you don't have any other options left. I mean, there's always options. You can switch to a character and like burn through their A attacks. That's like one of the easiest things to do to like quickly beat bosses. But yeah, that's it for this one. Thanks for checking this out. Definitely let me know if I missed anything or if there are any other things that Pegasus Knight can do that aren't in this video. Also, let me know who's the best Pegasus Knight, what Pegasus Knights you like to use. I'm interested to see who people tend to make Pegasus Knights. I would think like Petra, Ingrid, female Shez, obviously. Who else? Who else is a good Pegasus Knight? I can't really... Maybe Catherine? I don't know. I'm pretty sure she's playable, right? I like to make her a Pegasus Knight in 3 houses, but that's like a completely different thing. I don't know how well it carries over in this game. But yeah, definitely like and subscribe if you enjoyed this. I'm going to be making a guide for every single class, going over them in as much detail as I can. I can also do like an advanced guide where I go over like practical situations on how to fight specific classes, especially like the weaknesses of that class, assuming that you want to run something full-time and aren't really playing 100% optimally. Alternatively, I'll also go over like how to like build characters, stuff like that. But yeah, thanks for checking this out, and peace.